My name is Danica Padal, and this is my adolescence video blog questions. I decided to go with chapter 11, and that one is based off of sexual education. And the question that I was asked was, suppose you were asked to give a talk to parents about young teenagers and their need for sexual education and for adult guidance with regards to romantic relationships. Some of the topics that I decided to cover was puberty, being open and honest, safety precautions, and setting boundaries. So to start off with puberty, my first point is puberty. So going a little bit more into that, I think that schools mainly do a really good job of talking to each gender group about their sexual orientation and how everything works. I do think, however, that environment is incredibly uncomfortable and a little bit hostile. And especially for the age that's done it. I don't really know how to talk about the age because I feel like it's not like a terrible age. I just think that for me, my health class was in the 5th grade. I feel like we could have at least maybe pushed it off until like 7th or 8th before we like go off into high school, or even doing it first year of high school. I think that first year of high school is a little too late, but I also think that 5th grade is a little too early. I know that it's a necessary topic though, so it's definitely something that shouldn't be taken out of schools. I just think that the age could be changed that we talk about it. When I was taught about sexual orientation in the 5th grade, the boys and the girls were split up when we talked about our own bodies. So when we were learning about like puberty, breasts, vaginas, everything's like that. And then the boys on their side. But then the part that was the uncomfortable situation, not that any of this wasn't uncomfortable by any means. I think that the part that was probably the worst was that we then were put together in the same room, and it was a bunch of 5th graders talking about sex. And that made it extremely awkward, and I don't think anyone was actually listening to what was being said, so I think it was a loss of information for everyone in there, because we were all just like, oh my god, I can't believe we're talking about this. So I think that if we had kept the groups separate and talked about the opposite gender's body functions and then talked about sexual reproduction then, I think that would have been a better course to go along with that. My next point is being open and honest. I think that if parents were to make the conversation about sexual relations or relationships more comfortable, just laying the groundwork way beforehand, having open communication about things, because in a moment where like if a teenager is having struggles or needs help but has never talked about it with their parents, they're not going to take the time for when it's an actual dire need to then go talk to them. So I think that talking about like puberty at home, talking about erections, masturbation, safe ways to have sex, just all of the above would be better, and not have it be like a sit down conversation, but more of like a just loosely like, how's it going? Anything like that. And I know it's going to be awkward, but I think that that's probably the best way, because if conversation is flowing, you're more likely to actually interact and talk when something is actually going wrong. My next one was safety precautions. We talk about schools a lot, and we talk about how to protect yourself from sex, you would use a condom. But then that makes it seem like all the responsibility is on the men. Whereas for females, we have ways to protect ourselves. IUDs, birth control, menstrual cups for puberty. We have, I think we should talk about abortions in school. Like, there's so many different ways. And I think that we should talk about the different ways that we can protect ourselves. I think that there's like ways that we could talk about protecting sex in a positive light instead of scaring kids by being like, if you don't protect, you're going to get pregnant, which, yes, that is true, but also just saying that over and over again, it's not new information, and therefore we're not taking in the information. I think that my next point is that I wanted to talk about boundaries and setting boundaries. I think that is one of the most crucial things that adults can talk to their teenagers about, schools can talk to their teenagers about, and their students, is how to set boundaries and how to say no and not have it be perceived as, oh, I said no to you, now I have to do the thing that I just said no to because I'm feeling forced into it, you're making me feel bad, and how to deal with being told no, because being told no doesn't always mean like I don't like you at all. It might mean I'm not ready, or not right now, or we'll have another conversation. I think that that's really important that we talk about, and teaching teenagers how to say no, or consent, or saying yes, and the difference between being like, yeah, sure, and yes. Those are two very different answers. And just talking about how to get that consent all the way through, whether it be holding hands, whether it be hugging, whether it be kissing, whether it be anything any further. I think that talking about the communication between the relationship, communication about setting boundaries and how you're feeling about it, and talking to other people around you, I think that is all I have to say for this video. Thank you for listening.